Wonderful. So I just want, talking about, in your first 2 chapters, you talk about relationships.
Yes.
And you really cover this whole sense of meditation in allowing people to have, I hate to use this word because I don't think you would, but better relationships.
That's okay, yeah.
Right?
Yep.
Yeah?
Yeah.
So what would you, would you give us a feeling about that? What would you have to say? How does meditation help relationships?
How does meditation help relationships? I think the first thing I really want to say about that is that I think there is a huge problem in our society right now. I know there are lots of problems in our society right now, but one of them is that one of the things that things like Facebook and Twitter and Instagram and these modern devices have, and what we see on the TV, is we have a lot of people talking. And everybody's talking, and everybody's saying, look at me, listen to me, look at what I'm doing. But what very few people are doing is very few people are actually listening. Everybody's talking, nobody's listening. And I just feel as though, and I think this is borne out by the mental health numbers and what's being seen in mental health, is there's an epidemic of loneliness in our society. Even though we have all of these incredible devices for connecting with each other, even people who are in relationships, even people who are friends, feel incredibly alienated, and we can feel very separated from each other. And one of the problems is simply that we don't really know how to listen anymore. And one of the reasons for that is that we are perpetually being distracted. Relentlessly, I'm sure you have this experience. You go to dinner or you go to lunch with somebody, and they'll have the phone and they'll sort of say, I'm going to try and ignore it. But inevitably, during the dinner, we all get that little buzz, and we all have to pick up the phone, and we all have to do things, and we are being relentlessly distracted. Now, even if we didn't have those devices, we have our own mind. And when we meditate, when you sit and you try to stay focused and concentrated in meditation, when you try very simply just stay focused on one thing, on the breath or on your body or on your emotions or on a piece of music, when you try and focus on that, you discover your mind is constantly distracted. It's very hard to stay focused on one thing. And that's sort of one of the first things you learn in meditation. When you're in conversation with somebody, that's also happening. You're talking to them, and maybe they're very polite, and maybe they actually look you in the eye and they nod. But even if they do that, in their mind, they are just like in a meditation, they're suddenly off, and they're suddenly thinking, oh, I forgot to pick up light bulbs. And they look as though they're listening to you, but they're not, they're distracted. And that is constantly happening. We have these conversations, and neither of us are really present in the conversation. Like we nod, we're polite, but we're not actually listening. And part of it is we don't know how to listen. When you first start dating somebody, and you first meet them, and you talk to them, and they're fascinated by everything you have to say. And you're fascinated by everything they have to say, and you ask them about their...
Where is this date? I want to go on this date. It was so easy. It was so easy. I had to do it. Sorry. It was just laying right there on the table.
So anyway, there was probably once upon a time you went on a date where this wonderful thing happened, and you were interested in what they said, they were interested in what you said, and it felt amazing. It felt like you were really connecting, and you fell in love with this person. And then after several months or years, they start talking, and you're immediately like, oh my God, I've heard this one like 57 times. I don't need to listen to this. Or I know what they're about to say. I don't need to listen to this. And all of a sudden, that connection is gone, and we go, what happened to the spark? There's no spark. And the truth is the problem is you're not actually present, you're not actually listening, you're not there with the person, actually paying attention to what they have to say. And when somebody listens to you, truly, and there are a few people in your life probably who actually listen to what you have to say. And when you talk to them and they listen, you love those people because they make you feel listened to, they make you feel important, they make you feel real. And I would say in many ways that one of the biggest things meditation does is it helps teach you about how your mind gets distracted. And it teaches you to notice when you've got distracted, and it teaches you to refocus back where you wanted to be focused. And if you're talking to somebody and you notice that suddenly, you find them boring, or you're distracted, or you're thinking about something else, you have that ability through the training to notice that your mind is distracted and to refocus. And now that gives you the ability to be the great listener, to give somebody else that gift of being heard. And in relationships, it gives you that opportunity to reconnect. And it doesn't mean you have to listen to everything they say. But it does mean that occasionally, and maybe on those nights when you actually go on a date, you are actually going to decide, you know what, I'm going to make the effort. And that's all very well to say, but unless you've done the training, it doesn't work. So they might say active listening, be present with the listening. Nobody tells you actually need training. Well, meditation is that training.
It's wonderful,